Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. This month's video is going to be all of the books that I've rated 5 stars so far this year. There are more than I anticipated because I am a serial overrater. Last year I rated most books that I read 5 stars. If I have a good time reading a book, it's getting 5 stars. I don't need a literary masterpiece. If I have fun, if I like the characters, I like the plot, I like the tropes, easy. 5 stars. I'm so easy to please. So this year I have read 32 books so far, and 17 of those were 5-star reads. I started the year off not on the best foot. I kind of didn't have that many 5 stars until about April, May, and since then I think that around like the last 7 books that I've read have all been 5 stars. So let's jump straight into all of my 5-star reads so far in 2026. So I started the year off strong with Spiral by Bal Cabra, which I have this kind of little tradition. The first book that I've read the last couple of years is always a purple covered ice hockey romance. This kind of just started by accident, and then when I realised the pattern, I've intentionally kept it up. So I really wanted to read this one first. I absolutely loved it. It got 5 stars from me. It was such a good start to the year. I have the sprayed edge one, but I decided to buy it on my Kindle because I wanted to read it on the way home from France because I was visiting family for Christmas and New Year. So this was just the perfect book to tide me over on that journey, and my first 5-star of the year. Then my second 5-star read of the year was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, which I did not know if I was going to enjoy, let alone give 5 stars. I went to the cinema with my sister and my friend. My sister is a big Frida McFadden reader, and I had never read any. So I went in completely blind. I just wanted to watch the film because I liked the cast, and I ended up loving the film so much that I then borrowed the books off of my sister. I read the whole series. The rest of the series was good. I think I gave all of the other books a 4.5. But The Housemaid itself, I absolutely loved. And it was such an enjoyable experience reading it because I'd seen the film and then getting to compare all of the differences with the book, I really enjoyed. And I think it also was quite nice that I knew the plot. I kind of knew what was going to happen. I knew who it was. I knew all the twists, because then I really kind of focused on the reading. And because of that, I really enjoyed it. And I know it kind of defeats the point. I knew the plot twist, but I really liked it. And it then led me into the rest of the series, which I obviously didn't know. So I'm now really excited to go and see the second film when it finally comes out in the cinema. Then the next book was a 6-star read, dare I say. It was a god tier book, and it was The Wild Card by Stephanie Archer. I arc read this early, and oh my god, everything about this book I just loved. It is one of my top 3 romance series ever. I absolutely adored it, and it was just the perfect end to the series, so I couldn't not give this 5 stars. I obviously, on Goodreads and everything, have to put 5 stars, but for me, it was a 6-star read, and I did absolutely devour it and then cry because I didn't want the series to be over. Then, keeping with the end of a series and sports romance theme, I read In Her Own League by Liz Tomfordy, which I absolutely adored. I think the tabs speak for themselves. I go overboard when I tab. This is something I know about myself. It's fine. I really will literally tab everything that I enjoy. If it's a moment that I want to remember, if it's a cute moment, a romantic moment, if there's just something funny, something sad, I will literally tab everything. And yeah, the book is now no longer straight because it's so many tabs in there, but this deserved all of those 5 stars. I absolutely loved it, and Daddy Emmett is just beyond words. I could speak about this series forever because I do genuinely love it. It's another one of my favourite romance series. But yeah, do yourself a favour if you've not read it, please read it. The next book was a new author to me. I read Unsteady, Unloved, and Unbound by Peyton Corinne. Again, tab to the high heavens. I love the colours of these ones. I just think it's so pretty. But this book broke my heart. This was another 6-star read. It had me sobbing, laughing, so happy, so sad. It was just beautifully heartbreaking and just so tragic, but such a beautiful love story. And I honestly devoured this. I read it over a little while because I went on holiday in between, and because I got a proof copy and I was so excited about it, I didn't want to take it in my suitcase on the plane because I knew it would get damaged. So I had a break from reading it, and then when I came back and finished reading it, I was just immediately back there, which I find quite difficult to do normally with books. I find that if I take a break in the middle, like I can't get back into a book, so I don't normally do that. This one I had no choice because I literally had no time to read when I was away anyway. But I absolutely adored this book, and I'm so, so excited for the next book. It comes out in a few months, and I just need to know how this series is going to end and how Torin's book is going to go, because he has been nothing short of a problem in the rest of the series, and we're going to get his book, and I just know that I'm going to really like him in his own book, even though I've hated him in everybody else's. Next up was another arc. I read Fall or Fly by Sophie Snow, which I absolutely loved. I had already read the first book in that series, and I think this was the third in her Wintermoor series. They're such cozy, sweet little romances, and this one was great because this one was a dad's best friend and an age gap, which I absolutely loved. It was so nice reading a wintry themed, it wasn't necessarily a Christmas story like the first one is. It's a very Christmas town, but this book was set in the mountains in an isolated cabin, so you didn't really have that Christmas vibe, which was so nice, and kind of moved away from the main town. But I'm so excited for the rest of the series because we've just found out who the characters are going to be, and I can't wait. Then the next book was another 6-star read. It was One Last Rodeo by my bestie Emma Lucy, and this series just has my whole heart. I honestly think this one was the best book in the series. I genuinely think Emma did her best work with this one. You could just tell how much of her heart and soul she put into this. And to be honest, with the rest of the series, especially the second book, because the main character has endometriosis and she goes through all of these chronic illness struggles. And I know that Emma put some of her own experiences and people she knows in that book. And that one, honestly, you can tell she wrote it with her heart. But this one just ripped my heart out and then put it back together. I said again, it was so like emotional but beautiful, and the heartbreak in there, and there are flashbacks because it's a second chance romance, and it was just so well written, and I'm so proud of how much she's grown from the first book to her third book. And if you've not read the Willow Ridge series yet, you really need to, because it is a cowboy romance series and it's just incredible. And this is the perfect time of year to read it. It came out this month, and now the series is complete. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm patiently waiting until she announces what she's going to be writing next. I know what it is, but I don't know the finer details. So I'm very, very excited, and I can't wait to continue supporting her on her writing journey. Then, speaking of Emma, for Christmas, she book fairied me Loving a Vampire is Total Chaos, which I had been so excited to read. Mabuba absolutely adored this book, and she read it when it was indie published. Emma got me the indie version just before it released traditionally, and I loved this book. I had been waiting, it was on my 2026 TBR. I knew I was going to read it at some point this year, but this was just such a fun romance. The only way I can describe it is that it's like a paranormal rom-com. It was so funny at some points, and I just really loved it. And it then sent me on a giant paranormal kind of spiral. I read, I think, 7 to 8 back to back paranormal romances, and I don't regret a thing. They were all great, but this one kicked it off, and I love it. If you've not read this, you need to. And I think the second book has just come out, and the third book has just been announced, or the tropes have just kind of come out and the cover reveal has been done. So I'm very excited to continue this series. And then reading this one led me into my next 5-star read, which was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I did a reread of this so that I could read Mate, because I had been so excited to read this. I couldn't completely remember everything that happened in Bride, but I knew that it would have a big kind of impact on the storyline of Mate because Serena is introduced in this book. And honestly, this book, my reread was 6 stars. The first time I read it, it was a solid 5 stars. But this time, I don't know what was different about it, but I think it's because last year I didn't really rate books 6 stars. I would have my favourite books and my top books of the year, but only this year did I really start kind of rating books 6 stars. So this didn't have the opportunity to be a 6-star read the first time I read it. It did now. Absolutely adored it. So incredible. Then this one was also a 5-star read. I just loved this, and I honestly hope she continues writing paranormal romances because they were just so fun and I just loved them, as you can tell by the tabs again. So including those two, I ended up reading 6 Ali Hazelwood books back to back, which were all 5-star reads. They were all incredible. I was having the time of my life. I started with the paranormal. I then read Hot for Slayer because it was in the 99p Kindle deals. Again, 5-star read, loved it. It was short, but she has this way of kind of making a short story really feel whole. So it didn't feel like anything was missing. It didn't feel too fast or too slow. It honestly felt just like a normal romance book, except that it was shorter, and I absolutely loved that about it. And then I went shopping with Emma, and we both picked up To Can Play by Ali Hazelwood because of Books and Love had signed editions, and I had been telling her I really wanted to read this. Absolutely loved it. Oh my gosh, this may be one of my favourite Ali Hazelwood books I've read. I just loved it. It was so good. It's really inspired me. I want to make some kind of post or something for Instagram, whether that be a kind of aesthetic post or something. I just loved it so much. And I could reread it already. I only read it last month. I genuinely could reread this again. I think it was so good, and I obviously gave it 5 stars. Then I read one of my last Ali Hazelwood books on my shelf that hadn't been read, which was Loathe to Love You. I was really looking forward to kind of having these tiny novellas so that I wouldn't have to binge the whole book, and it was just so nice that they were the perfect length to read one novella per evening. I absolutely loved this, and it got me back into the STEM romances, which I had been craving reading. I think that's why I picked up Bride and Mate, because I knew that if I read those, I would then get back to her STEM romances. So I read this, absolutely loved it. And then because one of them is set at NASA, it made me want to go and reread Love on the Brain. I had read this before, but I hadn't tabbed it. I think all of her books after this point I had tabbed. So I started with Love Theoretically when I was tabbing. I'd already read the others, obviously, but I just hadn't tabbed them. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to reread this because it's been a few years. I remember some of the bigger plot points, but not the smaller ones. So I thought, I'm going to tab it. I'm going to read it. I do think the tabs are beautiful. They just make me think of like bubblegum and candy floss. I love it. So this is where I ended my Ali Hazelwood binge. I didn't want to read anymore because I have Check and Mate and Deep End on my bookshelf, and I always like to have an Ali Hazelwood book that I haven't read yet because I just think her writing's so nice, and there are just some times that I really just want an Ali Hazelwood book. So I like to make sure I've got at least one unread on my shelves, and I am considering picking up Check and Mate quite soon because I work in a school and I've been playing chess with the children a lot and teaching some of the new kids who don't know how to play it. So yeah, I'm convincing myself to read that now. I'm The way that my book kind of schedule, if you like, is I'm quite slow. I can read a book a week, and I'm going away at the beginning of August. So I'm hoping to read Nightshade or reread Nightshade before Daybreak comes out. And I want to read those two. But at the minute, I'm reading You and Me on Vacation, and I've kind of got a week where I'm not reading anything. And I'm thinking maybe I read Check and Mate. We will see if I get back to my Ali Hazelwood binge. But if not, that's a book that I do want to read quite soon. And then following my Ali Hazelwood binge, I was understandably in a bit of a slump. I didn't know what to read. And then I checked my emails and had an email from Ray Ryder asking if I wanted to arc read her newest book, Desperate Lies. I had never heard of her or her books. She has another series out, which I think is kind of a predecessor to this new series. And when I looked at the tropes, she sent me a little graphic with them all on. The minute I looked at those, I said, yes, you can send me that book. Yes, give it to me now. And she literally had sent me it on a Friday evening. I immediately read it, and by Monday morning, it was finished. I think I binged it in 2 days. I could not put it down. It was so good. And I think that's a bit of a gamble because it was a billionaire romance, age gap, best friend's dad, and kind of anonymous, one night stand, masquerade, don't know who you are, hidden identity, that kind of vibe. And I find with some kind of billionaire romances, they can all be the same. So I tend to stay away from the genre. But I was like, do you know what? I'm craving a bit of change. I don't know what I want to read. It's short. Just send it to me and I'll read it. 5 stars. It was incredible. I could not put it down. I loved it. It was just so good. And I literally immediately, after I finished it, emailed her and asked to be put on the ARC list for the next book because it was that good. I have kind of taken a step back from ARC reading. I used to ARC read maybe like 20 books in a year, but I'm such a slow reader that I can only get to about 60 books a year, and that was taking up such a chunk. And all of the books on my physical TBR were just being neglected, all of the books I was buying. So I decided to step back, and I really only ARC read for maybe 2 or 3 authors now. And I have added her to that list because it was just that good. And then the last books that I rated 5 stars, I have literally just finished, and they are Bed, Borrow, Steal and In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. This series is my comfort series. I was putting off reading them because I didn't want the series to end, but honestly, reading them made me so happy, and the closure from them I loved. We saw everyone in love and happy at the end of the last book, and again, the tabs are beautiful. I think this one looks so cute because I matched them to the covers and I love it. And I just genuinely would recommend this series to everyone. I think it's quite a good one to recommend actually because it's closed door. So I feel like when I'm giving out recommendations, I don't know people's preferences on spice, what level, how graphic they want. So these are a good one to recommend. And yes, they're closed door, but that doesn't mean that there isn't tension and yearning, and the slow burn in this book was slow burning. I absolutely adored it. This one I related to Emily so much, and honestly, they were so beautiful. The amount of quotes that I was tabbing and taking pictures of and making a note of because they were so nice and just beautifully written, and Sarah Adams does that so well. She does pacing so well as well because like this set up the story within the first kind of 100 pages was literally just setting up the story, but it didn't feel too quick, it didn't feel too slow, nothing much had happened, but it felt like everything had happened. And I just love this series with my whole heart. I'm considering rereading When in Rome and Practice Makes Perfect, but I don't think I have the time before I go away. So I may just kind of skim through all of my tabs from the books, but I love them so much and they honestly have my whole heart. And I'm so sad the series is over. I just wish that there was like more siblings so that this series would carry on. But Sarah Adams is one of my comfort authors. This is my comfort series, and you should all go and read it if you haven't already. It is just perfect. And the dynamics between the siblings and their partners and the whole town, it's just really the epitome of a small town romance. I just think it's beautiful. And it kind of has that Gilmore Girls kind of vibe with everybody knowing each other and the markets and the shops, and I just love it so much. And on that note, those were all of the books that I rated 5 stars so far in 2026. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're not already. And I will see you all in next month's video, which is going to be my holiday Kindle TBR. I know that because I'm about to film it. So come back at the end of August for that video.